Hey guys, it's Jessica and I'm back with another card video. First off, I wanted to take you through a small haul of things that I got from a new to me company called Brutus Monroe. I have been eyeing these products for a really long time and there's a giant list of things that I want to buy from Brutus Monroe, but I figured I would start small and at least start building my collection. So the first thing I actually got as a free gift during their Memorial Day sale, which was some glitter or rainbow embossing powder. I can't wait to try that out. That super cute owl, the super adorable little line of tiny people in these different scenarios, and that one with the boat I'm actually going to be using today for my card. Could not say no to this adorable, super gorgeous floral card, or stamp I should say. I've got cards in mind already for that one with the cute little banner stamps also. I just thought this was super cute. Just a little card saying who packed my order. And then finally this awesome library background stamp. This has so many uses and I can't wait to see what all I can come up with. Looks like they're also having a Christmas in July sale, so I will definitely stay tuned for that so I can get some awesome deals. Okay, so to start off with for my card today, I am going to use that brand new library background stamp. So what I'm doing first is preparing my surface with a embossing powder tool. This basically helps make sure that any oils from my fingers or any moisture on the card at all doesn't let my embossing powder stick to it. Especially with an intricate die or stamp like this, you want to make sure that you use something to treat your surface just to make sure that you're not getting embossing powder where it shouldn't be. I just went ahead and used my Versamark ink to get my stamp nice and sticky with that sticky ink, and then I'm using some Hampton Arts clear embossing powder. If I am being totally honest, I am not a huge fan of this embossing powder because when I heat emboss it, it's supposed to be clear, and when I heat emboss it on white cardstock, theoretically you should be left with white lines, and I find that this leaves a sort of cloudy yellowish sort of tint to it, and I am not a huge fan of that. So I think I'm going to be in the market soon for some clear embossing powder, or I might just keep using white. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll just use the Ranger white embossing powder. Since I'm on a white piece of cardstock anyway, it tends to work out pretty much the same. And here I'm just using my stamp chamois to clean off that stamp. It works so well. I usually just get mine wet when I am going to be crafting, and then I let it lay out and dry. Some people keep them in containers, but I've heard that they get smelly. I can imagine, like with the moisture trapped in there, that might cause issues, but I haven't tried it myself. I just let mine dry out in between and then just get it wet again when I know I'm going to be crafting. So what I'm doing here is just some basic ink blending. I used brush corduroy and antique linen. I really wanted it to get like a warm library feel, like old books. And so I'm just putting down some random color, nothing particular, no rhyme or reason, just sort of where I thought it would look good. And I really like the way that the light and dark browns blend together. I don't know, I think they look really nice together. And then you get that pop of mostly white color coming through from the background stamp. So then it was time to pick out my stamp, and like I said earlier, I am using this adorable little scene stamp. It's got a little guy and a girl in a boat, and he's got like a pirate garb on, and she's just having a blast in the boat. I don't know, it spoke to me when I saw this stamp set. I had to have it. And so here I am using it. And you guys, I have to say that these stamps are really good quality. This is the first time I've ever inked it up, ever stamped it, and I got a perfect stamp. That doesn't happen very often, especially with ones that have fine lines like this. I find that, I don't know, they just seem splotchy and they don't really work that well, but this was perfect. I only had to stamp it one time, and if you guys watch my videos, you know I'm not very good at stamping with blocks. I generally prefer to use my Misty, but it worked perfect. So off camera, I did go ahead and color up these little cuties, and I fussy cut them out with my scissors. I'm not sure if they have coordinating dies or not. I'll have to look into that, but I don't remember seeing any when I was shopping on their website. But I just used Copic markers to color them, and I had a blast doing that. So then I went ahead and picked two Distress ink colors to make some water. I'm kind of doing like a weird mashup card here. So I'm going to make the bottom of my card like an ocean, and then the top is the library. So I kind of wanted to go with the whole, like, you know, when you read a book, you go on an adventure. So I put them like out in the middle of the sea, since I thought this, I don't know, it just, in my head, I had this whole thing planned out, and it makes sense to me, but maybe you guys can see my vision too. Okay, so I used Salty Ocean and Peacock Feathers for my ink blending here. And then I just took my Ranger Mister bottle and squirted some water into my hand, let some of the big drops fall, and then flicked for some smaller drops. I then let it sit for a little while so that the water would kind of pick or lift some of that color, and I would be left with those white or discolored portions. And then I took my dry paper towel, and just blotted up the excess water. I really like the way that turned out. Then I took a stitched border die from Lawn Fawn, and it's a scallop border die that has the stitching detail on it, and I just turned it upside down, like used the opposite side. So usually this would be the part you threw away, but I just used it so that I could create little waves that were going the same direction as what was in my stamped image. And then I decided I really wanted to use vellum. I've been on a vellum kick lately, especially for water or sea type cards. I just think it looks so cool. It gives it like a really nice effect, I guess. It mutes the bottoms. I don't know. I just really like the way it looks. So what I did was I got my approximate measurement so that I could at least have a starting point for where it was going to go. It doesn't have to be exact because I am going to die cut the vellum piece also, but I just wanted to get it approximately the right size. I left it long on the sides because I'm actually going to fold it around my card so that I can adhere it to the back, and I don't have to worry about any glue dots or anything like that showing through. So I did take that same scallop border die from Lawn Fawn. I lined it up so that it was half through each scallop, basically, so they were offset. So I didn't get the exact same scallop pattern. I wanted them to be like off-centered, I guess, so that I had, so it looked like multiple layers of the card. Then I lined it up on the front. You can see how they don't quite match up when I line them up, and that's exactly what I wanted. And then I just folded the vellum around the back side of my card. I attached it with some washi tape. Washi tape's my best friend. And that worked perfectly. I didn't need anything else to adhere it. It stays. It's great. It's really good washi tape. This really cute washi that I'm using is really, I don't know, it's just really high quality, but it's from Scotch brand. So I don't know if it's technically even considered washi tape, but it works just the same. It comes off really well. I haven't had it rip any of my papers, and the pattern is super duper cute. Okay, so once I got that all trimmed up and ready to go, I wanted to see what it was going to look like. I like the way that it looks with them tucked into the vellum. Kind of gives that appearance of having the water, I don't know, it just makes it look like they're in the water instead of on top of it or behind it. I did go ahead and get my white note card. I like to have that pop of white on the outside. To me, it gives it a nice, I don't know, it kind of encloses the card. Sometimes I feel like when the background or all of the stuff goes all the way to the edge, it feels unfinished to me. And I think that white border gives it like a finite place to exist. Like you've got your little scene and that's it. It exists on the card and that's it. Maybe everyone is not as particular as I am about stuff like that, but for me, it gives it more of a finished look. Okay, so I was deciding what I wanted to do, but I am going to use that sweet little sentiment that says, "You are my greatest adventure." First, I decided I wanted to put some twine around the bottom just for a little bit of added interest. And so to do that, so that my card doesn't get bumpy, I'm adding a little bit of foam tape to the back of my little ocean panel. And this will just allow the twine to sit behind the card without making my front panel all bumpy and lumpy, so that when I adhere it to my card, I don't have any weird bumps or lumps. I did notice that some of the vellum was kind of peeking out from behind, so I went ahead and just trimmed that off with my scissors. And I don't know if you guys have noticed this yet, but I am working really hard to not do things off camera. So the way that my camera is set up right now is the area that's closest to my hands sometimes gets cut off, and that's the part of the mat that I craft on a lot. I don't know why, but I tend to bring things really close to me. And so you'll notice that I'm off camera and then I'm like, oh, right, let me put that back up more towards the middle of my mat. So you'll probably notice me doing that a lot in this video. I'm practicing. But I just attached this again with washi tape. I've got my cute little twine wrap there. I like the way that that looks. I tend to do the 3 wrap thing like that, so it's got kind of an overlapping cute little pattern, I guess. And then I put a little bit of the foam tape on my little scene up there. I will add more later, but I just wanted to get an idea of what it was going to look like when it wasn't, you know, when it was all at the right height. And I was really happy with the way that that looked, but I needed to add my sentiment. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do because I wasn't sure how things would look. I wasn't really a huge fan of doing the heat embossing or anything like that directly on the vellum, especially since I had already made this panel. I thought that would be really difficult. And so I grabbed a strip of black cardstock that just happened to be on my desk. It was already cut. It was, I don't know, it was just happened to be this size already. So I thought, well, it was meant to be. And I grabbed that. I did treat it with my embossing powder tool again. And I'm using my mini Misty, as always, when I do my sentiments, to get it straight and make sure that everything is lined up where it should be. I am really rotten at making things lined up and getting them straight. So mini Misty is a must for me. Okay, so I used, again, the Versamark ink, just a sticky ink for embossing. And then this time I did use the Ranger white embossing powder instead of the clear, just so I'd get that nice pop of white color on my black cardstock. I've been really into this lately, just having that my sentiment on black cardstock with the white embossing powder. It just looks so pretty. The colors pop a lot, and I don't know, I really like the way it looks. So I did that. I went ahead and used my heat tool to heat set it, whoops, it went flying across the table. Luckily, I didn't have any issues with it, but that'll teach me to try to have a free moving piece while I'm heat embossing. But once that was done, I went ahead and kind of lined everything up again just to see what it was going to look like. I was trying to decide if I wanted to have any tags hanging off, if I wanted to cut it short, if I wanted it to go the whole distance of the card or not. So I was still very much deciding what I was going to do throughout the whole making of this card. I'm not sure about you guys, but I know some people are very particular about their cards. Like, they have an idea in their head and they kind of like, they sketch out their card. They've got this whole thing planned out and they know what they're going to do beforehand. And I am just not like that. When I sit down to create, it just sort of happens. At each step, I make decisions and I'm like, okay, so now I've got this done. What am I going to do next? Okay, well, I like that. Let's see. What am I going to add? And I am not a planner when it comes to making my cards. Sometimes I'll have an idea or something, you know, to base my card design off of, but I don't plan it out in advance. I just kind of let whatever happens happen. And so sometimes when I sit down, I end up with like a completely different card than what I set out to make, and that's all right. Sometimes I love them, sometimes I hate them. It all just depends on the day. But it's kind of cool just to see where it takes me and what happens. And I've been really happy with some of the cards I've created when I have no idea where I'm going next. And this is a total side note, but I don't know if you guys noticed this little girl's hair in my little Copic coloring, but I was really proud of the way her hair turned out. I was going for like sun-kissed and, you know, out in the sun. So she's got brown hair, but it's got really bright highlights. And I was really happy with the way that that turned out. So that was super exciting. I picked some like seemingly random colors and it worked out really, really well. Anyway, so I tried an ink on my edges that didn't work. It was a Craftsmart ink that I use just occasionally for random stuff, but it wasn't dark enough. It wasn't showing up, and honestly, it's actually pretty dried out, so I need to get a new one. But I went ahead and grabbed a Hero Arts ink pad. I think it's called Cup of Joe. It's a pretty dark brown. And then I just inked the edges because I thought it needed a little more finishing, I guess, like I don't know, a finished edge. There I am with that finished edge thing again. But it just looked a little better to me. Then I went ahead and took the foam or the backing off of my foam tape and adhered my cute little ocean panel to the bottom of my card. And then all that was left to do for this part is just go ahead and adhere them down, making sure that I liked where they were. I went ahead and added some more foam tape to the back, and I did also add a little bit of two-way glue from Zig to the bottom, just to make sure that my little guy wasn't going anywhere. I wanted it to be really sturdy and not have any issues moving around. And then the only other thing that I did, which I have been totally obsessed with, if you've been seeing my cards on Instagram or on my blog or anything, you will know that I've been totally obsessed with these things. But I did go ahead and add some clear droplets from Pretty Pink Posh also. I am super duper obsessed with them. So it is what it is, but I kind of go through phases with my creating, where I tend to use really similar products, and I just go through like whatever little phase of using those, and then I find a new thing that I'm really obsessed with using. So I don't know. I get hooked on things really easily, and I like to do them. So there are worse things to be hooked on. But I did go ahead and I wanted to keep the top less busy just because that background is really cool and I didn't want to take away from that. So I ended up putting my little droplets down at the bottom, which makes sense anyway, because they're kind of like bubbles or, you know, water droplets. They're cute. They work with the water part down below. And so that's kind of that. And you guys can tell me what you think. If I achieved my goal, which was kind of like they're supposed to be on an adventure, they're reading from one of the books in the library, and like either the place flooded or they're just so in their imagination that it's like, you know, they're on the sea, they're on their boat, they're doing their Treasure Island thing. Did I get there? Did I not? I don't know. Let me know. Thanks you guys so much for watching. As always, if you like the video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Hit that bell to get notified when I post new videos in the future. And as always, thank you so much for watching and your comments. It means a ton to me. I really appreciate you guys, and I will see you in the next video.